Hi everyone, Anthony Morganti here. You probably already know that around a week ago, Adobe updated just about every application they have, including Lightroom Classic, which is now version 15, Lightroom Desktop or Lightroom CC if you prefer, which is now version 9, and Photoshop, which is now called Photoshop 2026. And I haven't done any videos at all on these updates. I apologize for that. I was very busy first with the Lightroom Summit, then the Photoshop Summit. Then I was busy trying to finish my course on On1 Photo Raw. I'm happy to say I got all of that done. So now I'm ready to do some videos on what's new in not only Lightroom Classic version 15, but in a day or so, I'll do a video on what's new in Lightroom Desktop version 9 and what's new in Photoshop 2026. Also, somewhere along the line, I'm also going to do a free kind of mini course on Luminar Neo. So look for all of that in the future. Now, as I alluded in today's video, I'm going to be talking about and showing you what's new in Lightroom Classic version 15. Now, one advantage of not rushing out and doing a video the day it was released is I had time to watch videos that other people have done on what's new in Lightroom Classic. And I kind of disagree with most of the people because they were saying that like this feature is kind of life-changing or this feature really makes, Lightroom so much better and blah, blah, blah. And in my opinion, unless you are a portrait, event, wedding photographer, there's not anything new added to either version of Lightroom that you're going to be using every single day. There are some nice features though, and I'm going to be going over them now. Now, a couple things I'm not really going to demo. They added tethering support for Leica cameras, and they added a new set of adaptive presets. So if you're in the develop module and you go over to the left panel, you could see that there's an adaptive landscape category now, and you could see that there are a number of different adaptive landscape presets that you could use. Now, beyond that, they have added some nice features. One of them is automatic dust removal. Now, it doesn't just apply to dust. It could be sensor spots, or in this case, like water droplets on the lens, or you'll see in a minute, I had one that was like a midge fly or a sand fly hatch, and there were just bugs everywhere. If you have an image such as this one with these like sensor spots or these water droplets, and you want to get rid of them like with one click, go to the remove tools. That's the little eraser. And you'll notice at the bottom, there's now a section called dust. Roll that open, click the little checkbox that says apply. And when you do, it will examine the image, find all those little spots and remove them. If you hover over the image, you'll notice that there's little circles over the spots that it found and removed. Also, you could see you could manually then remove. So if it missed some, you have a brush here and you can remove some manually if it missed any. Also, you'll notice that there's the visualize spot slider down here. So you could click this on and get this kind of weird black and white image, and you could move this to the right to make it a little more intense. So maybe you could better see where some spots are that were missed. Like it looks like there might be one right there. So then you could kind of back it off, turn it off, and you could see, yes, there is one there and it missed it. So you could resize your brush and then click on that and miss it. So as you can see, it's not perfect, but it does a pretty good job and it is a time saver. Now I mentioned that there was, I believe these were actually sandflies, a hatch, and my son Nick and I were down here walking around, and you literally had to walk with your mouth closed because there were so many bugs everywhere, and you could see they're here. They're just everywhere. So I found it works even for this. So we'll click apply, and again, it's got to examine the image and find them, and it won't remove every single one, but it removed a lot, as you could see. And you notice it missed this one here. So just resize the brush. And by the way, I'm just sliding my finger on my Apple Magic Mouse. You could do with a PC mouse with the center wheel. You could just spin that wheel. Or you could use the bracket keys to resize the brush. Left bracket key smaller, right bracket key larger. And then just click on what you want to remove. and you could remove it as simple as that. So that is a nice new addition. I don't think it's a game changer, but it is a nice new addition, and it will save you time. Now let's jump over to the library module and go to another folder. There's something called variants, which actually comes in handy. Let me go to this image first. If you ever have a situation, particularly with landscape photos, if you have a circular polarizer on your lens and you're shooting really, really wide, what you'll find is that you'll get a band of dark sky and with bands of white sky, and vice versa. So you might have more bands of dark sky and a little band of white sky. But either way, it's annoying. So you'll have something like this shot I have here. This obviously wasn't shot very wide, but you could see that there's this lighter blue over here. So what you can do now is you could fix this. They added what's called a variance slider. It's in the color mixer. So if you go to the color mixer and you grab the little eyedropper and click on, in this case, the blue sky, you'll notice that there's a variance slider. And if I move this to the left, it kind of evens out that blue, doesn't it? Now, it worked fine for this image because in this case, let me get rid of this. The only thing here is the jet fighter and the blue sky, right? So there's nothing else there. But if this was a full landscape image and there was like blue water and there was maybe a blue sailboat or something like that, you would affect all these colors. So where you may want to apply this is with masks. So if you go to masking and we mask for the sky, then you only have the sky selected. Then you could go down to point color, do the exact same thing, grab the eyedropper, click on the blue sky, then go down to variance and move it to left to even it out. Now, there have been some people talking about, and I think Adobe mentioned this as well, that this could help even out skin tones. Now, personally, I haven't really found it to be that effective, but I'm going to show you it nonetheless, because maybe it does work on skin tones on images I don't have. So if you have a portrait and the person kind of has blotchy skin tone, supposedly you could use this variance slider to kind of even out the skin tone a little bit. Now, for me, like I said, I didn't find it as much. So we'll select people. Then we're going to grab the facial skin, the body skin, and then let's, we have some facial hair. So let's grab that as well, only because it will select all his skin on his face and neck. We're going to create one single mask for this, all right? Then we have the point color eyedropper. So you click on that and then click on a skin tone somewhere like there. And then you could take this variance slider and you could see it kind of whitens up the skin, but you move it to the right, it makes it worse. But it maybe helped a little bit. Like there's before, there's before, and there's after, there's before, and there's after. So that's something to keep in mind. Maybe that will help you with some of your portraits. Now, let's jump back over to the library module, and let's move on to the next new thing they've added. Now, with landscape masking, there were 7 different types of landscape masks available, and I'm going by memory. I should have wrote this down. Sky, architecture, vegetation, water, natural ground, artificial ground, and mountains. They've added an 8th, snow. So if you go to masking and you go to landscape masking, now, of course, it's only going to detect what's in the scene. So on this image, it's not going to detect all 8 things, but it did find 4 things: sky, architecture, vegetation, and snow. That's new. So when you click on that, you could create a mask for snow now. So that comes in handy. There's sometimes maybe you want to brighten up the snow a little bit or something like that. You're now able to do it because you could create that snow mask. So that's, to me, a welcome addition. So those are nice things. Again, I don't think it's something that you're going to be using every single day. With that said, there is something here that if you are a portrait, lifestyle, wedding, a people photographer, there is something here that you may be using every day. And it's called assisted culling. And I think this is kind of like what Adobe's considering to be the star of the show. So if we go over to the library module and I go to this photo here, or this photo shoot of Sarah. All right, it's right here, assisted culling. When I roll this open, you'll notice then you could have Lightroom kind of sort your images by focus, eye focus, and whether the eyes are open or closed. So if you have a photo shoot, let's say, and you took some images, and more often probably in group shots, somebody blinked and closed their eyes, you could find those images very quickly and kind of omit them from your scene. So it's kind of assisting you with culling, and it's using AI to do it. Now, in this case, let's say I want to look for the subject focus and eye focus, and then down here you have options for eye open, and then to reject photos without people's eyes. So if there were photos of the back of people's heads, you could just reject those right away. Reject can't tell images. So if the AI cannot determine if someone's eyes are open or closed, reject those. So you could do that. Now you'll notice as it's sitting here right now, through this folder that I'm in that I've called Sarah, it's showing that it has 93 selects and 0 rejects. So it hasn't gone through them all yet. So it works its way through them. And you also could reject documents and receipts. Some photographers, I've never done this, that when you have, say, a photo shoot, you may, with that photo shoot, take a photo of the model release and then put it in the folder with the model so that you could then see that that folder of images has been released. You may also put in a photo of the receipt. You paid the model and you have a receipt proving you paid the model, and you'll put that photo in there as well. So you may want to reject those automatically. Misfires. If your flash didn't go off, or the camera you accidentally hit the shutter when the camera's at your side, that will reject those automatically as well. Or exposure issues. If you have one that is way overexposed or underexposed, you could automatically reject those as well. Now, as you can see in this image here, or in this folder here, it's found one rejected image, and it probably rejected because it thinks your eyes are closed, I would imagine. But then you could go back to the selects or all. Now, I'm not sure, even though I have 129 images in this folder, I'm not sure why it's showing 93 down here. I'm not too well versed in this yet. Now you can kind of tweak the AI, meaning when it looks for images that are in or out of focus. By default, the slider will be right in the middle. If you really want to be strict, you could move this to the right and make sure that they're really sharp. But you notice as soon as I did that, all of a sudden now I had 52 rejects and 77 selects. Now the number is coming out to 129. So I guess that's all it took. So you'll notice, though, there's kind of no rhyme or reason. You could see that like this one has a check mark, meaning it's in score or it works good. And this one has that X, meaning that the subject focus isn't good. It's showing the eye focus is good, you could see, and the eyes open, that's passes, I guess. But if you actually look at the images, I mean, that one to me looks more in focus than that one, but they're still very close. So when you have this way to the right, sometimes you're going to get rejections on images that probably are still good. With that said, this still is in early access, so maybe this is something that will be refined. Conversely, if you move it all the way to soft, you could see now I have 128 selects and 1 rejected image. So right in the middle, I think that was around the same thing, right? Yeah, 128 selects, 1 reject. Now, eye focus, same thing. Move it way to the right, you'll get more rejections, 18 compared to 111, and so on. But this definitely will help you cull your images so you could just find the ones that are most in focus right away, whether it's the subject, the eyes, or one or the other. Then you could reject photos that don't have the people's eyes showing, reject photos without people's eye, or reject photos that it just can't tell. Just automatically do that. Then you could also reject, again, if you have documents or receipts or misfires or exposure issues. Then you also could auto stack. So if you click on auto stack, it will automatically stack by either capture time or visual similarity, or both. You could do both. Now, personally, I would probably do visual similarity. So those that look like they're similar poses would be stacked together. Now you could see that we have 3 stacks. There's 3 like this, there's 1 stack like this, and then there's 123 images here. But I could make this less similar, so then I have less stacks, or more similar, now I have more stacks. So you could see again how you could fine tune this. So right around here, there's going to be a sweet spot for each photo shoot. So you can see right around here we have 3 images here, 1 image there, 1 image there, 1 image there, 3 there, 1 image there, 15 there, and so on. So you could see how you could fix this. So we have 9 stacks and 7 unstacked. So those are images that are just single images. And then you could automatically stack it. So that comes in handy. That could help you find poses easier. And then from there, maybe you could use compare view and compare images more quickly because you have similar images in a stack. Otherwise, you might have images that are at the beginning of the Photoshop and photo shoot and images that are at the end of the photo shoot. And in the film strip, they're spread way apart, and it's harder for you to find them in order to compare them. So you could do this more easily because you have them in a stack. So that is there. Also, you could do batch action. So if you click on this, you could see that you could automatically apply flags to the 128 in this case, because the way I have it set up, selected photos. You apply ratings, color labels. You could add these to a collection. The rejected ones, you could apply a flag. If you click on that, you could see you have the choice of the reject flag or the pick flag. You could apply a rating. You can see if you click on that, you could pick the rating, the color label. You could just remove these photos totally or add them to a collection. Same thing up here. You add the flag. You could pick the flag. You could pick the number of stars, and so on. So you could do this, and of course, as you saw, you could do more than one. So I could apply a pick flag, a 5-star rating, a specific color label, and I could add it to a collection. So I could do all of these, and you pick your collection that you want to add it to. So these are assisted culling batch actions that you could do during this assisted culling that you're doing. Now, with all that said, like I said, most people, you're probably not going to use this unless you're a portrait, events, wedding photographer, something like that, where you're photographing people. But kind of that stacking feature comes in handy if you are a wildlife photographer or even a landscape photographer, because it will help you stack similar images. For example, if I go down to this folder that is from the zoo, if I go to assisted culling, you'll notice that it even found like some selects, like with eyes open, eyes shut. Now, whether or not I would fully trust it, I don't know. But if I go to the rejects, you could see as far as the gorilla is concerned, like there's a blurry one. There are images here that you can't fully see the gorilla's eyes. So in some cases it did work. There's some images here that I cut off the top of the snow leopard because I was shooting with a really long lens and I was shooting through glass, and it was kind of difficult. So it does work, at least with some wildlife images. Now, I don't think obviously you're going to have these show up here for landscape images, but what will work for landscape images is the auto stack. So if you go to auto stack, what it will do is you could stack by visual similarity. Like, look at these images here. They all look the same. I had my camera on high speed and I was just pressed in the shutter and shut off like 30 shots of this animal. So I could stack by visual similarity. Now it has to go through them, and then you'll show you your stacks. Then you could come in and look. Well, here I have 99 images that look similar of this eagle, 72 of this bobcat, and so on. So you could go through. You could, again, there's kind of a sweet spot. You have to kind of move the slider around to see more similar, so you could get them more spread out or more separated. And it will help you, I think, even with your wildlife images, or in this case, images shot at a zoo. So although assisted culling, I think, is definitely meant for the portrait, people photographer, you can use it for wildlife images and even landscape images. I don't have really an example to show you, but it will find similar landscape images and help you stack those together. And then you could even do some batch results too, if it did, in this case, if I do subject focus, then I could do batch actions and stuff as well with the wildlife photography. Now, assisted culling isn't just in the library module. It's also, you could do it during import. For example, if I bring up the import dialog, you'll notice it's different now. It has two kind of main categories, just a straight import and then assisted culling. On my desktop, I have a folder here of some people, right? So here's an engagement shoot. So I could just straight do an import like I always did. So I'd import them. Then I have the option to copy them as DNG, copy, move, and add. That's not changed. It's just cosmetically different, but I could still do what I always have done. But now I could do assisted culling. So if I go to assisted culling, then I have the same options, copy as DNG, just copy them, move them, or add them. So let's say we want to copy them. Then we would, where do we want to copy them? Well, I want to put them in this catalog, and I'm going to put them in a single folder that I call, Lexi and Dan. And they're going to be in this folder right here. So they're going to be in this folder, but I have the assisted culling turned on. So they automatically will be culled as I bring them in. I just have to tell Lightroom what to do. On the left-hand side, I want to select focus, eye focus, eyes open. I don't have documents. Maybe I want to reject misfires if I have any of those in there. Reject exposure issues if I have any of those in there. Do I want to auto stack? I could auto stack by visual similarity, and then this is kind of the hard part. You got to try to find out what is visually similar, maybe like that. And then when I'm done, do I want to view all of them or just the rejects just select? So I'm going to view all of them. So I have this set up the way I want to cull them. I have it going into the specific folder, and then I could click import. And then it will automatically get done during the import process. So I don't have to come back over here to library module after they're imported, click on assisted culling, and cull them that way. So I have them in the wrong folder, but here we are. So you'll see what it'll import all of them, and then it will kind of put them in the stacks after they're all imported. But you can see it's going through the import process now. And what I'll do, because there are quite a number of images in here, is I'll pause the recording, and then I'll restart the recording when it's done importing the images. Okay, it imported everything. It has them culled, and it has them in stacks. As you can see, the stick has 3, the stick has 47, the stick has 16, and so on. You'll also notice that there are 8 rejects. I could click on the reject button, and I could see that they're stacked as well, and there's probably exposure issues with either of those. As you can see, they're dark in this image, and there's a lot of dappled light on them in that image. So there are some rejects, there are some selects, and we could view all of them if we'd like to as well. So this assisted culling, it's something nice. It's something that I'm not primarily a person photographer. I do it now and then. I used to do it all the time. That was what I did for a living. But nowadays I don't do it as much. But it is something that I would use and probably find useful. So it's there. Now, as I mentioned, in the following days, I will do an update video, show what's new in the desktop version of Lightroom version 9 and what's new in Photoshop 2026. Also, if you purchased my Lightroom courses, that's my course on Lightroom Classic or my course on Lightroom CC, Lightroom Desktop, whatever you want to call it, I will be updating both of those courses with these new features by next week. So look for that. And also, finally, sometime within this time frame, I'm going to slip in kind of a mini course. It's going to be free on Luminar Neo. So look for that on YouTube and my website soon. Hopefully that I can find time for that. But that will hopefully be happening very, very soon. So that's what's new in Lightroom Classic version 15. Thank you, everyone who watches my videos. I really do appreciate it. Talk to you guys soon.